As a customer yourself, how often have you felt like a number? You know, sometimes maybe literally standing in line behind lots of other people, you're wondering how long it's going to take for you to get to the front of the line. Maybe it's being put on hold and you don't know how long you're going to be on hold. There are all kinds of times that as a customer, we don't feel good because we don't feel special. Now I want you to think about how that relates to internal customers and stakeholders as well. As we continue the blend philosophy, I'm going to hit the N in blend today, and that is, the N stands for never, never, ever, never let your customer feel like a number. Now, in the retail world or, the external customer world, somebody buys a service, a product, an idea from you, you don't want them to feel like a number, because if they don't feel special, they may not come back and shop with you again. But internal customers and stakeholders are just as important to try and not only understand what ways that we might be making them feel like a number, but also to make sure that we realize what kind of impact that has on our outcomes. Because as you know, I'm all about outcomes. We can't do our jobs effectively when we're not motivated to, we don't have the right tools, but a lot of times when we just don't have the right mindset with our team. So I was thinking about, when are the times that you feel like you're a number to your internal customers, or the people that, they're your stakeholders in your organization? So I thought of this as like one of the greatest examples. Have you ever sent an email to someone within your organization? Okay, maybe without as well, but let's just talk internally with your organization. You send an email, you're updating somebody on something, you're asking for a request, you're looking for a permission, whatever it is, and you don't get a response. And you're waiting, and you're like, well, I sent an email, so why haven't they responded? And a couple days later, you're like, they still haven't responded. In fact, I was talking about this a couple weeks ago with somebody, and she said, I send an email, and then I wait like 2 days, and then I send a text message, and I think she calls and then she sends a text message. I go, but on the day you send the email, do you need the information that day? She's like, yeah. I go, why do you wait 2 days to follow up? So we had a great conversation on what happens when somebody doesn't follow up. But when you send an email and you don't get a response and you get frustrated, I know it's really easy to blame that person that you're emailing, but sometimes you gotta look at yourself and say, if I keep doing this and I keep getting the same results, maybe I might be a part of the problem. Now, I'm gonna be honest, my email is a nightmare. I have worked my entire career since before the advent of email to try and get control of email, which sounds funny. No, since the point where I actually remember a time when I had no email in my work. Yes, that's how old I am. And I remember distinctly how excited I was when I got email at work. Boy, that was stupid, huh? And since then, it's been this battle, like, how do you control it? It used to be so easy long ago, like send out a message and it's done. But that's a very passive, aggressive way to communicate with your colleagues, and especially if you need something. Sending an email looking for a response, a reply, an approval, is actually kind of a subject for disaster. So in my world, email, for instance, is something that I still work on every single day and try and get rid of as much as possible, because in my world I have to, whatever is still on my to-do list, if it's in my email inbox, it's still on my to-do list somewhere. And I haven't moved it to my actual task list, but it means it's something that needs to get done. And I am back to my practice of getting down to a 0 email inbox on Friday afternoons. It's very, very tough to do this, but it makes it a lot more sane during the week. But here's, I guess, my whole point with this. So if you're sitting back there and you're sending that email and you get no response, what you're missing is the opportunity to communicate. And that communication is really key. In fact, that communication is the key whether or not you're effective and you are able to, complete what's expected of you. So if you're not getting the responses you're looking for, what are you going to do differently? So as I was taking some notes, I was thinking about, when we do this and we send off something to somebody else's email, we're actually treating them like a number. Now, I've completed my task, you need to complete your task, and once that's done, boom, we're done. Instead of trying to solve where the log jams are. Now, as we are speaking, I have 4 staff members right now, and I owe each one of them one thing today. I am late on each one of their one things. One of them is taping this right now. And I will get every single one of these 4 critical things done before the end of today. But they probably don't know that, and they're probably worried about it because it's not in the time that they asked it of me. So that's on me, and I need to fix that. And as soon as we're done here, at least one of the things will be done, and immediately thereafter, the other 3 will be done. But the key is if my team doesn't know how to get things from me, how do any of us know how to get things? Well, as actually in my team, we are working on this constantly, and we've got some great strategies. We work with a system called Asana, where we actually have tasks, and they are due every day. What's the problem with that with Michael? Michael has way too many tasks that are due every day. So Michael, talking about herself in the third person, is working to make sure the tasks make sense and don't fill up the task list with things that can be moved around. If it has a due date, get it on the due date, get the due date done, and get it out of there. But email then, when we went to that, before we went to that, all those things were coming in email. And so email inbox was, 200 or 300 emails in it all the time rather than under 20. And when I keep it under 20 in a day, then there's manageability. But what we have failed to do still with my team that I'm just bringing them back around is to remember that we can also operate with each other in a way that keeps communication key, but that also helps drive urgency. So I call it my stoplight method. What's the stoplight method? Well, pretty clear: red, yellow, green. And what this would mean by this: so if somebody on my team needs something from me and it is urgent and it is due today, they have to have it from me. And if I don't deliver it to them, they can't deliver what they're delivering for me and for our company. Then that becomes a red light issue. And so when they can say to me, Michael, this is a red light issue, then I know that means I need to drop everything to take care of this for them. That's my responsibility as their leader. Now, if I were just their colleague, it's the same thing. A red light issue means I need this, but you can't overuse the red light. It can't just be like, oh my gosh, I want this right now, so therefore it's a red light. Red light is, by definition, a hard stop, emergency. This must be done. This has to be done today, and preferably within the next hour. Yellow light means this is really important. I need it today before the end of the day. And I need that attention from you. But green light means, hey, this is something I want to update you on. I want to be able to follow back around on. It's green light is that ability to say, hey, this is really important, but it's not critical, and it's not critical mass today. So communication in that vein, trying to really communicate at a level that not only explains urgency, but also helps to have a dialogue that seems safe, will help our team continue to evolve. But it also helps us to understand how important communication is with our internal stakeholders or our internal customers, those other people who we rely on to be able to get our jobs done. And on the flip side, that they rely on us to get their jobs done. So urgency is the critical key here. And if you've heard me say it before, my own little quote is that no one's sense of urgency ever matches my own. What do I mean by that? I mean that I'm always looking for things right now, but it might not be on somebody else's priority. Somebody else might want something from me right now, but it's just not important to me in that moment. So with others, when I can make sure to have that same context and say, if this is something that's really urgent, tell me it's a red light issue, and I will stop and address it. Tell me it's a yellow, and I will make sure that I will get it done to you before the end of the day, or I will be clear why I cannot meet that deadline. And green means, all right, I understand it. I won't let this slide. I realize it's important, but it's not urgent. So keeping in mind that part of that whole blend philosophy of the B-E-L-N-D, the N meaning never, ever, 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 never let your customer feel like a number, requires us all to communicate better. But it also requires us to listen intently. When we listen intently to each other, we understand what stresses each other out, where the pressure points are, and what the options are that could make us all have either a great success or an epic fail. And you know me, I'm always about great successes because it's the only and best way, but only way to truly shock your potential.